Okay. Well, welcome to our May MDC 4-H Club Leader Training. I appreciate all of you taking the time out, and I'll try to be as short as possible, but we do have a few things that we need to discuss. And, any questions you have, concerns, things the group needs to discuss, please let us know. Please, please feel free to chime in or unmute yourself, put it in chat, any of those things. So. All right, so our agenda for tonight is we're going to talk about 4-H clubs and online payment systems, because I keep having that question come up. So I think it's good for all of you to know. We'll talk a little bit more about record books. I wanted to do state fair pre-entries because our next one isn't until after those are due. There's a short video I found from, I believe it's Minnesota, or North Regional, Minnesota or North Dakota, one of the two, on developing a culture for youth involvement in 4-H clubs. And I think it'll have hopefully some helpful tips to you and give you some ideas. We're gonna do a little bit about upcoming events. And then anyone who's from Lynn County can go, because we're gonna talk a little bit about Miami County Fair. Although if you're doing open class in Miami County Fair, you might wanna stay on because we have some changes in our pre-registration process for our registration process for the Miami County Fair. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first one is 4-H clubs are not allowed to have online payment systems. This means like PayPal, Venmo. I know there's lots of others out there. Part of the reason is it's too easy for people to misplace funds, take funds, skim funds, those type of things. There's no accountability. There's no way to review them because all of your accounts, you do those annual financial reviews each fall, and those go to our Marais District Extension Board, and they approve those and review those. So, so there's kind of a checks and balances there because the treasurer does things in your club, and then you have those reviews, and then they go, there's not really a way to do checks and balances in those PayPal, Venmo. The other thing is they're tied to a adult leader's phone number or account. And, if whoever's account they are with leaves, then they still have access to that account. So I just want to let you know, it would be nice. I know it would be nice if we had these for some things, but they are not, your 4-H clubs are not eligible to do these. It's just like the debit card. You're not allowed to have a debit card for that same reason. It's just too easy to charge things, pull it out, and have those problems. And I'll be honest, we've had enough problems with people just putting in the wrong account and paying bills out of, 4-H accounts and some things like that. Not that we have a lot of problems with that, but it happens every once in a while. So you can kind of see why the state is saying no to these. And this actually does come from the state Kansas 4-H policy. So I just wanted to make sure, because like I said, I've gotten a couple different questions asked about this, and wanted to make sure everyone was kind of clear on those things.
Carla, I do have a quick question. We have done things like where one of our parents has just recently organized all of our shirts. So the club pays for the kids' shirts, but if families want to order a shirt for a child that's not a member or for an adult, then we charge them so much money for that. One of the parents has been collecting all the money and then gives that to the club. Is it acceptable for that parent on their personal account to accept money through a Venmo or a PayPal, because they're ultimately going to pay the club in one transaction? It's not the club accepting the money, so to speak. I'm not trying to bend the rules, but I'm trying to see if what we've done is good or bad or indifferent.
I think you're okay on that because it's not in your club's name, and
right.
That, you're still accountable. They're going to have to pay any money that isn't. Yeah, I
mean,
the
treasurer's still going to have the receipt.
Right. I was going to say, ideally, you'd probably almost write 2 checks, one for them, and then, I don't know. But yeah, I think you can get by with that kind of a thing, but I wouldn't do that very often.
Okay, I think that's probably the only time we've done that, but if it's not okay, I'll just let them know we won't do that next time.
Right.
So.
And it's always a learning process on these things, and I'm not saying, yeah, oh, you have to, but I'm just wanting everyone to be aware of the issues and think about that. And I think a personal account's okay, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
It's also making sure,
I mean, I think the record is there for the club, right? The parent that's collecting the money, no matter how they collect it, they're going to give the club amount, we'll have the receipt, and then the amount that goes out for the shirts, that expenditure is there. So I think it's traceable,
right,
for club auditing, but I can see where it could get a little dicey.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it's kind of in the gray area.
Okay.
I will be honest, but I'm not going to say that it can't be done, but I think you definitely have to make sure you can track it a lot. And I definitely would not, and clubs definitely can't have their own personal Venmo account.
Sure.
So, I know, it's the easiest way to do it. And I do realize that, or, PayPal or whatever Square, any of those things, but unfortunately we just can't do that. So, but good question. Thank you. Anything else on this? Okay. All right, I'm going to move on. And if we can always come back. So if you think of something while we're talking about other things, we can talk. Record books. Okay, so this is a new thing due October 3rd, and this includes PIN applications, everything with them. Just another reminder, because I know it's been a couple years since we changed record book forms, but 4-H story is no longer a required thing. They actually, part of the project report form is a project reflection, and that is your 4-H story. So you have to do that for each project you do. The other thing is that now must include a permanent record. So just to kind of give you a heads up on that, most of you are getting this, but we still have a few that are struggling with those two things. So I wanted to kind of go over it one more time. The other thing is Miami County's 4-H Achievement Celebration has been moved to November 6th, which is a Sunday. And I am working on some videos for record books, some tutorials, things like that. I hope to get those out within the next month or two. I know most of you haven't started record books and won't until August or September, now that they're due in October, but I'm trying to get those out ready to go so you can have some guidance on those. I had one that I had recorded on a Zoom session, but if you record to the cloud on the Zoom session, it only lasts for a year. So now I'm scrambling to put it back together. So, and I'm going to try to shorten it up so it's not quite as long. Okay, so any questions? Well, if you have questions, let me know. Moving on to Kansas State Fair, that's September 9th through the 18th. I just wanted to let you guys know livestock pre-entries are due July 15th, and they enter those themselves. We don't enter those at all. I think they're all online now. Horse pre-entries are due August 1st, and I believe they're all online as well now. And then all other pre-entries are due August 12th for Miami County. Lynn County, you have a little bit more time because your fair ends after August 10th. And so you'll have till the end of that next week to do it. So I'd say about August 18th, because they'll have to get things together. So just to kind of give you a heads up, the important dates are probably the August 12th and the August 18th, because those are the ones, like I said, livestock and horse have to do their own pre-entries anyway, but those are coming into our office and going from there. Okay. So now I wanted to share with you a short video. Okay, can everyone hopefully see? Okay, can you guys see the 4-H easy? Is that coming up?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Things were looking different on my end, so.
Welcome to 4-H EZ. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to watch the introductory video that explains the purpose of this series. If not, feel free to watch that at your convenience. We developed these videos, we hope, to be a convenient tool that you can use to access the topics that are most relevant to you and your situation with your 4-H club. And today in this recording, we're going to share with you tips number 1 through 3. My name is Steve McKinley, and with me today are Carrie Robidoux and Rochelle Veteran, 4-H Youth Development Extension professionals, and also volunteers for the Blue Eagle Clovers 4-H Club. Welcome again to 4-H-EZ. Let's start with the first promising practice of operating a successful 4-H club. One of the first things that struck me as we started planning for this and preparing for this program was the way that you described your club's very strong youth and adult partnership. And I know from our conversations that this didn't happen by accident, but rather it was a very much an intentional process that you went through to develop the Blue Eagle Clovers 4-H Club into a culture that really places a high value on that youth involvement. The first tip that we're going to discuss relates to the size of a 4-H club. Carrie, how does this factor into building a culture for youth involvement?
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, our tip number one is consider your club size. And this is something that we took to heart from the minute that we started planning the club. Rochelle and I know that when you get up to about 30 kids in a club, it starts to be a challenge of everyone being able to do all of the youth leadership opportunities that we want them to have in a 4-H club, including their demonstrations or any kind of speaking in front of a group, leadership roles within that club itself, and belonging, knowing that you're developing relationships with caring adults. And the larger you get beyond 30, the more difficult that can be. So we are being conscious that helps everyone know that once our club, if it ever gets to that 35 to 40 size in membership, that we might need to, as a club, take a look at, okay, where are we at now? We're getting beyond a point where we're able to give all of the young people opportunities to stand up in front of the group and time to do demonstrations and all of those things that I just talked about. And, is there a time where we need to begin to brainstorm of, should we become two clubs? Should we be a club that if we have older youth and younger youth, that we are meeting maybe at the same time, but in two different areas, so everyone has that opportunity? So we have that in our mindset that is something that we may do someday. For now, as I mentioned in the intro video, we are ranging from about 17 to 25 young people over the handful of years that we've been a club. And so far that's been perfect for us.
Well, thank you, Carrie. That gives us kind of a good ballpark as we're thinking about looking at a 4-H club size. So now what happens if a new family comes to you and they would like to, maybe they've moved in the community and they'd like to join your club? What would you say to them, Carrie?
Yeah, and so we've talked about that 30 isn't like this magical number that if we're at 29 and you have 3 kids, you're not going to be able to join our club. But, we just feel like it's just a nice number to really give us a way of having a conversation with our club, and that everybody knows that that's about how big we want our club to be. So of course we will also always welcome in new families. And I think a lot of what we'll be sharing throughout this video, if you have a really large club, some of the tips that Rochelle and I are going to give are going to be more difficult to implement in a large club size. And I think for those who are watching this presentation, if you're working with a larger club, you'll probably need to make some additional adaptations to implement everything effectively, such as using more small groups, or as I mentioned earlier, having your club all come together at the same time, but perhaps you get creative in having our Clover Buds over here, we call them in Minnesota, our young kids, and we have the older youth there. So I think club size is a goal. It is something that you want to achieve that we want to achieve to be able to implement all of the easy tips that we're going to be sharing throughout this, but certainly doesn't stop larger clubs from implementing these things, or if you are beyond 30, getting creative in how you will.
Flexibility is a good thing.
Flexibility,
right?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. The second tip that we're going to discuss as we move toward a culture of youth involvement is ensuring that youth have a voice in the decision-making process. And I think all of us would agree that it is a good idea, but I also think it can be a bit scary for us as adults to turn over the decisions for a club to a bunch of 4-H members. So Rochelle, why do you believe this is an important tip?
I think this is a crucial piece of it really being a youth-led, adult-guided 4-H club. We really do want our youth to be the ones that help make the decisions in the club, help plan the future of the club, and that begins from day one. I know with our club, we started, since it was a new club, we even started with them voting, like deciding and voting on what the name of the club would be. And so we had them brainstorm lots of different ideas and finally came up with probably a handful, and then we had them vote on that club, and were able to really, at the beginning, have them feel ownership. And from there, each year, as we add new club members, like you discussed, we do create things so that they feel like even if they weren't at the beginning of the club or starting at the beginning, they still get a chance to have a voice. And so we start the club year by doing some brainstorming, and we really talk about what we want to do as far as service learning projects. We talk about what we want to explore related to 4-H projects for the year or 4-H experiences. And then we also really talk about some of the field trips or other activities and educational events that they want to be part of. And so we do that by, again, brainstorming and then giving them those dots and doing the voting process, and then scattering those experiences throughout the year so that they really do have a youth voice and a youth choice. So again, we even do that each year with our club's fortunate through some fundraising. We have 4-H t-shirts that we wear that kind of encourages that belonging piece, and they help design and decide what color those are going to be, what kind of they say. So that's been a neat experience for them too. So we try to do that as much as possible, so that again, that we are as adult volunteers facilitators, but we are not the ones that are making those decisions. The kids are really the ones that are making those choices. And we'll see that and hear that throughout the year. As we go to an event or an educational activity, they'll say, oh yeah, we voted on this. We chose to go to the police station, or, oh, and if some of them maybe aren't on board with something right away, they'll say, now remember, we chose we were gonna have this for our food, even for our 4-H banquet. So they are able to really take true ownership of the 4-H club.
And that ownership is so crucial, I think, for the 4-H members to feel a need and a connection to that program. And I think it encourages them to come back and be more active participants throughout the year, too.
I think we do see that in the attendance piece, because they're the ones who chose and decided what we were going to do for that day. So.
Well, you've convinced me. Thank you. That's good, very, very good, valid reasons, I think, to have youth as a strong decision-making part of the 4-H program, and appreciate you sharing that. For our third tip, I know that you provide a wide variety of opportunities in your 4-H club for each member to speak in front of the group at some point during the year. Yeah. So Carrie, what does this look like in the Blue Eagle Clovers 4-H club?
Sure. So our tip number 3 is provide youth with opportunities to speak in front of a group. This is so important to us, and we have seen so many benefits of putting this tip in the forefront of our intentional programming and how we plan things, and just how the flow of all of our club meetings go. So we intentionally provide many opportunities for youth to speak in front of a group, to increase their skills, and our goal is to have those young people comfortable speaking in front of our group, with the hope that someday they'll speak in front of other groups and say, this isn't a big deal because I've done this before. But friendly smiles, people they trust, and just that opportunity to be able to share and go out on a whim, take that risk of speaking in front of everyone in that setting that builds their confidence is just so, so important to us. So we acknowledge simple opportunities, and I say simple in that they aren't hard to implement, but if you're intentionally thinking about them and providing them for the young people, their comfort levels are going to increase. So first of all, here I have some ideas of what we do. We try to involve everyone in every meeting, and again, that simple tip there is roll call. You stand up, you say your name, and you share something. Now that's our secretary of our club always comes up with what they will share. And it might relate to what we're learning or what we're doing later on for our project experience at the end of the meeting, but they stand up, say their name, and provide that information, again, speaking in front of a group. We have taught our club leaders 5 games and songs, and now that's not a magic number, but that is where we started, so that all of them have a common game and song list. So when they come, and it has become our kind of club's, this is what we do. And they even have an area where they go to do it. And one club meeting, I said, well, why don't we do it out here? Because you might have the right space for that. And they looked at me and said, no, this isn't where we do our games. Right. We go out here. And I went, okay, you guys, go ahead and go do that. And now we have just this year added an officer role to lead those activities. And he's coming with new games. And that's okay. And they all are excited about that. And they sometimes will say, well, can we still play that other game too? But they'll play his new game, and he then gives them instruction. They all listen to him, and they play that game. So, again, when we talk about through these tips that they're easy, you see that those aren't things that are, research-based and journals. You have to be a professional in youth development to know how to do those, but they have really made a difference in our club and for the young people involved in our club, so that when we're giving them opportunities to speak in front of a group, it's not just a traditional maybe demonstration or only the officers who are a part of that club. We think that there are a lot of ways, and we've tried to incorporate lots of ways that our young people are able to stand in front of that group, and they don't realize they're building those skills, but they are.
We do a lot of those non-formal ways to really build those skills, and we have definitely seen that in our youth leaders. We also do include those and incorporate those more formal ways that we really know about the 4-H Youth Development Program. We do ask each of our 4-Hers to do a demonstration or an illustrated talk, and those demonstrations we've really seen involve varied levels of risk with that. One individual might come in and actually make a full recipe. Another might come in and have posters and talk about his livestock project and point out the different pieces and really talk about his experiences. So it kind of depends on the youth that we and their decision related to that. One of the neat things that we've seen, or that Carrie really did in the beginning, was tell them this doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be the perfect communication arts or demonstration project. We want you to just get up here and share something with us. And so I know my daughter, it was perfect because Carrie gave the example of just getting up and demonstrating how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just something that we want you up in front of the room showing us how to do something. And so when she heard that, she said, I can get up and demonstrate how to put together a Lego project. That's something I can do. And that evolved to, if it's just supposed to be peanut butter and jelly, I can get up and actually make a poster and tell them how I play the guitar and some of those different pieces and actually play for them. So we've seen that really evolve over the years with our youth. Now, by our 4th year in our club meetings, we're seeing those youth really confident in being able to speak in front of the group and comfortable with our club members.
So Carrie and Rochelle, I really applaud your efforts in this area of really building a very strong culture of youth involvement in your 4-H club, and these are tips that I think all of us can use regardless of the club size or club demographics that we have. There's great tips that we can all use. So to recap these tips in this video, we've had 3 of those. Those 3 tips include operating a 4-H club at an optimal size, also involving youth in the decision-making process, and providing all members with the chance to feel more comfortable when they are talking in front of a group. And these are very practical suggestions that all of us can incorporate into our 4-H clubs regardless, again, of the size or composition. I really believe that our 4-H members will benefit when we employ these promising practices. I would encourage you to check out the resources that are listed with this training and to help you implement the tips that Rochelle and Carrie have just shared. In the next segment of this training.
Okay, so that was just and there's actually more videos to this, and if you're interested, they're all free, and I can give you those because it's called 4-H Easy. But I just wanted to kind of share some things with you on this and ask you, so how do you guys involve your youth in your club? How are they involved in your club decision making?
Hi, this is Kathy Benny from the Explorers 4-H Club. We currently have a committee made up of members that helps us plan our yearly plan of events. And so since it's made up of members, they help us, they decide what big projects we're going to do or which programming we want to do. And even down to like, they come up with the ideas for roll call and those type of things. So that's one way that we get our members involved in planning, so they kind of buy into what's going to be happening throughout the year.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you. Yeah, this is just I just wanted you guys to share because some of you probably have better ideas than anything I could definitely come up with. And it's always a good time to share with the rest of the group. So does anyone else have some ideas on or ways that they involve their youth in their club?
Well, Carla, this is Annalisa. We have a fairly large club. I think the biggest one in Linn County. Our attendance is probably 25 to 30, and that's not everybody coming. And we do have a fairly young population, heavy on clover buds to say 5th, 6th grade. We're kind of light on teenagers. So we give them the opportunity to have as much leadership as they can. But of course, as they're younger, they need a lot more guidance. We do have several standing committees that we rotate families through each year so that the kids are involved in selecting those things. So like, we'll have a committee for this chili supper that we have every year, or planning field trips, and they come up with ideas to present to the club, or the t-shirts. This time, all the kids that wanted to brought a t-shirt idea to a design to the meeting, and then they all voted on which shirt they wanted for this year's club shirt. So I'd say we probably have a dozen different committees that do different things like that, in addition to just routine business.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody else have some ideas, or how do you involve youth in your club?
We're probably, as a Trailblazers, this is Kathleen Dowdy, we're probably one of the smaller clubs, but we keep growing a little bit at a time. And one of the things that we've found is that by letting every child in the room participate, and they all do, they're very good at, we're having to teach our younger ones how to do stuff, but they're very good at deciding that this is what they want to vote on. This is what they want to do. They run the meeting with guidance, but they all run the meeting. They all learn how to participate. And I think that's the biggest thing that helps our club, and it's helping us to grow a little bit more.
Yeah, that's good. I know one of the things when I talk to there's a state special, area specialist that I talk to every once in a while. And I've asked, because I'm like, we just see our, I hear from you guys, and I know that your clubs are not necessarily shrinking in membership, but they're shrinking in the amount of kids that come. And one of her things back to me is always, well, what are you guys doing to make your meetings fun and engaging and trying to keep those kids wanting to come back? And I know we can't keep everybody because some, there's too many outside draws, but it is something to kind of think about. And I do think about that too. And I've tried to make some changes for like junior leaders. I was just thinking as I was watching this video today that I probably need to have 4-H Council model some of the standing up to do roll call, some of those things, because that is an important part. So, there's always things we can work on no matter how long we've been in it. So that's kind of my takeaway from that. But anybody else want to share how they can involve youth in your club? Okay, well, hopefully that helped you. And like I said, I think there's 3 like 15-minute videos. It's 4-H Easy, and I'd be happy to share the link for you. It's free training if you guys are interested in some of the other topics. They looked really good, and we might be doing some more of these on some of our Zoom meetings as well. But if there's something that's interesting to you, you might check it out. And it's always good to kind of see what other states are doing and get their best practices as well. It doesn't mean you have to implement everything, but it's always good to broaden your horizons. So with that, I am going to go back to, okay. Sorry, just a second. I had an issue on my end. Okay, so hopefully that helped a little bit with developing a culture for youth involvement. Okay, so now we're going to kind of talk about some upcoming events. We've talked about these a little bit before, and I'm actually going to let Amy talk about a couple of the things. So Amy, do you want to talk about Make It and Beginner Sewing Camp?
There we go. Yeah, I can do that. So Make It is really exciting. It's kind of inspired by a TV show where they had different, they call them makers because they all came from like different backgrounds of creating things, and they just had them in and they put them through challenges and themes. And Make It is kind of loosely structured on that. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a whole bunch of art materials, and everyone who comes can select from those art materials and make their own original work of art. They're not allowed to bring their phone in, so they need to have all their techniques and things learned before they come in. They'll be given like a 15-minute planning period. So I'm doing this all out of order, but they'll come in, they'll see the room, the materials, they'll have 15 minutes to plan, and then like an hour, hour and a half to make whatever they're gonna make. And then we'll have a judge come and select the top 3, and then we'll give out prizes. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I have like 18 kids signed up so far, and everyone seems pretty excited about it. And there's still room, so if anybody else wants to come and jump in, should be a pretty good time. And I hope to offer it a couple more times, maybe in Mound City or somewhere also, so that there's better access for Lane County, because I'd like to flip-flop between the two, just make it even. And then sewing camp is also super fun. It's kind of a kickoff, a beginning. If you've never sewn before, this is where you go just to get comfortable with what sewing is, how a machine works. And if it gets enough interest, I would like to just keep increasing the difficulty of projects that we make, and just keep moving it on up to where eventually maybe we have a class and kids can learn how to sew formal wear or do some kind of a alternative material project, like make a dress out of newspaper or something. But beginner sewing is just learning stitches, learning how to use a machine and sew straight. And that's going to be a lot of fun too. So hopefully y'all can join in with it. It'll be a good time.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Some of the other things we're doing this summer is we have day camps in both Paola and Mound City. So one's June 16th and one's June 30th. Those are for 5 to 11-year-olds, and we have lots of our junior leaders or leadership team in Lynn County, junior leaders in Miami County are planning those. I have 2 beginner robotics classes happening. They'll be in Paola. These are Lego robotics. They'll be in Paola and Lacine there June 22nd and 24th. They are limited to, I believe, 14 kids, and you'll be in teams. But I have the new Lego has a new Spike robotics kit, so we were able to purchase those with help from the Miami County 4-H Foundation. And we're going to hopefully get some robotics things going and be able to do some more workshops. I tried to start this right before COVID kind of happened a year or a couple years ago, and then got shut down. So hopefully we can get some back going on that. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really like the new kits from Lego. They're very colorful. They're a little bit smaller, and you seem to be able to do lots of different things. Like the other day in my office trying it out, I made a pincher or grabber so that I could robotically, basically by pushing a button on the robot, it would grab things and hold on to it. And when I let go of the button, it would drop them. So there's going to be a lot of fun. One of the videos they show, I haven't got into it yet, but that they're going to dance. They made a robot that basically could dance. So I think it'll be lots of fun. We also have squishy circuits in both Paola and Mound City. And for those of you who don't know what squishy circuits are, they're basically making, sorry, they're basically making small or simple electrical circuits using Play-Doh. And I know Amy's been kind of making some Play-Doh for me to try that out, but we have lights and switches and different things like that, and you can make different, and during that class, we'll be making different things. So we're going to talk about, kind of do some learning on what is a circuit, how do you, how does electricity travel, what is conductive dough, what is, insulation, those type of things. And then they'll be making their own. We're going to do some that are kind of follow directions type things, but then at the end, probably they'll get to, make their own animal, create an animal, your own animal that is out of Play-Doh that has like 3 lights with it or something like that. So I think it's a lot of fun. I can't remember exactly what the cost is, but all of these things are available on our website and also in the office. And they do still have some registrations. I know we're taking registrations, I think for all of these through probably at least the 10th, if not longer. Some of them might be getting closer to filling up, but I encourage all of you to think about that because I think it'll be a lot of fun and I'm looking forward to those. Okay. All right, so I have one more thing after this, and then I was going to do questions really quick, and then I am going to talk about the Miami County Fair. Oops, sorry, I'm going too fast. So are there any questions over things we've covered so far? Okay, then Miami County Fair. So, and Lisa, you can stay for this or feel free to jump off too. It depends on if you want to do open class for us. But so Miami County Fair, we have a new pre-entry system and we're going to do a lot. So we're doing fair entry, which is the same thing that Lynn County already uses. But it is going to be a little bit different in Miami County because we are going to basically have there's different animal pre-entries are due like July 1st. Fashion review pre-entries are due July 1st, which is our normal date. I am asking that everybody, Miami County hasn't pre-entered before, but I am asking that everyone pre-enter this year. It'll make it a lot easier on you and it'll make it a lot easier on us in the office as well. So if you could have those pre-entries in by July 8th, that would be great. A couple of things on that. Animal entries are limited to 4 entries plus showmanship, but they're going to show up in the system as 5 just because of the showmanship part. The one thing about it is if you pre-enter stuff, your entry cards will be printed and available at check-in. So say I, am a 4-H'er and I entered 4 foods items. You will have to put a little description of what you think you're going to take, but that doesn't mean you have to take that. Then when you come to the Miami County Fair on Monday and you're entering your foods, they will pull out 4 cards that are printed that have your name on them and everything, all the information. And if you did, decided you were going to make, you put it down a apple pie, but your apple pie didn't turn out, so you made a cake instead, an apple cake, you can just cross the pie out and put that on there. So it doesn't have to be perfect. There are some changes that can be made to the card at check-in. But I think the really important thing is here, entry cards are going to be printed. So that keeps you guys from having to write all those out. We're also asking that open class entries be entered as well, because then we can print your open class cards as well, and you don't have to fill those out as either. So please pre-enter open class before or by, it says on, but by July 21st. That way we have time to print them. If you can do them when you're printing, entering 4-H, all the better. If you don't know for sure what you're going to take, I would say go ahead and enter. You can always scratch it later. It's not a big deal. All of those things. Another thing that we're trying to get on this system is we're hoping results will be available online after that tabulation team enters them. So especially if you're open class and coming from a ways, you can actually check online just like State Fair does for those. Oh, Sorry, I had that twice. Like I said, they do suggest that families register all entries for each exhibitor in the family before proceeding to the payment section. Now, it's going to have a payment section. There is not a payment for our fair, but they work with so many fairs that actually do require payment that you're going to get an invoice, what they call an invoice, but the invoice is zero. You're going to pay by check, but you're never going to write us a check. So don't worry about when it says payment. Don't freak out about that. There's no payment, nothing to do. We're a free fair still. It's just the way the system has to work. One of the things they did say is be sure to click the submit button. And just to kind of let you know, we're hoping this, be looking for an email with all the information on this coming out probably in the next week or so. And we're hoping to have video tutorials and printable tutorials available when we send those out too, or shortly after. So we're here to help. We'll have everybody in our office kind of trained on this. And if you need, the other thing is if you have a 4-H family who maybe doesn't have internet access or something, I think most of ours do, but we will have a computer set up in our office area where they can come in and use that. You will register through 4-H. You will use your 4-H online passwords. So it is connected to 4-H online, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to have another user account. You can just log in with 4-H online as long as you remember your password. If you don't, you have to go back into 4-H online to change your password. But those are a few of the things. So I think it'll be good. We're hoping it'll work pretty well. It seems a lot user-friendly than the last one we tried, which was not very user-friendly. We still have some limitations at our fair because, ideally you'd have tablets and you just enter results at the fair as we do them, but we don't have reliable internet at the fairgrounds yet. So until we can get that, and it's not exactly an easy thing to get, we're kind of down in the bowl and no good lines of sight and no actual wires coming to us. So, but I think it'll be better, and I think it'll be it'll be easier. I think you guys will find that it is pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So, one other thing that I didn't put on here, but I do want to bring up too, is because we had to change by doing this new system, we had to change our class numbers. And so the class numbers are now going to be a separate document from the 4-H or from the fair book. So we will have those available online. There will also be paper copies in our office. It's not a problem because if you pre-register, you basically just select if you're, which department you're going into. So like 4-H beef, and then you'll select what, breeding beef, and then the class numbers are right there. So if you're doing online entries, it's not a problem. But if for some reason you're at fair and trying to enter something new, that could be a little bit of an issue, but we will have those over there. And I just didn't want you guys to see a fair book come out and go, there's no class numbers in here. It was going to double the size of our fair book, and they just couldn't. The printing cost for that would just not be good. So anyway, any questions on this? I kind of did a quick rundown, but. Okay, well, thank you all for attending. If you have any questions, let me know. And thank you for being great volunteers for the Marais District 4-H program. And I know you keep your clubs going and a lot of other things as well. So I appreciate all your help. I'm looking forward to summer. I think it's going to be a good summer. And if you have any questions at any time, please let me know, or contact Amy as well. So thank you all.
Thanks, Carla. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're very welcome.